Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode here of the K2 Podcast. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in this evening. I think I got some really interesting stories lined up for you guys tonight. It's been an awesome weekend for me. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I finally got to go and actually sit in a restaurant for months, so that was really nice to be able to kind of just kick back, have a good meal prepared for you. Got out there, mowed the lawn this weekend, hung out with my neighbors a little bit, so it was really a good weekend. I hope you guys had the same kind of weekend as well. I do want to say towards the end of the show, I'm going to tell you how you can win an Amazon gift card. We'll be doing a $25 Amazon gift card next week, so I'll tell you how you can win that. Also, there's some other stuff I want to get into towards the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. But I think that's it. We're going to hop right into it. As Jay-Z once said, you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. So I appreciate that. So let's get right into tonight's show. What we're going to first discuss is some stock picks. I got some updates for you. The stock market looks like it's been doing pretty well over the past week or so. So that's been nice to see that it's kind of starting to bounce back. So I kind of wanted to give you an update on some of the stocks that we picked earlier in the I guess it was back in April, so it's been a month and a little over a month now, so that's kind of cool. Let's see here. It looks like for some reason the stream isn't going live to YouTube, so I'm not sure what that's about, but I'll have to just fix it later on. Anyway, let's see here. So if you remember a few months back, or in April, we talked about a few stocks, which were Norwegian, Kohl's, Delta Airlines, and Carrier. And then recently we added a new one, which was an ETF, which we're going to talk about that a little bit and do an update on that one as well. But I just want to take a quick look here. Let's just go look at the give me a second here. So we'll look at the, if you can see the screen here, for Norwegian. When we first brought this stock up, when I first brought it to everyone's attention, about when I was saying, hey, this would probably be a good stock to pick up. I first mentioned this one on one of my live streams on April 6th, and the price then was $10.01. So if you would have picked up Norwegian at $10.01, as you see on the screen there, that was back on April 6th. It's really bothering me that this isn't popping up on YouTube right now. I'm not sure what's going on. Oh, well, nonetheless, I'll fix it later. Sorry, I got distracted. But if you would have picked this stock up on April 6th for $10.01, that would be a great investment now, because as you can see, the stock is at $25.07. Now, it may be a little bit higher than that. I took this screenshot around 1 o'clock today, maybe a little earlier. And as you can see, the 52-week high for Norwegian is usually, or the 52-week high was $59.78. So it's about halfway there where it needs to be back on pace at the 52-week high. But it's still kind of interesting to see that they are beginning to bounce back. You can kind of see by the chart there, you're starting to see a little upwards trend. So it's good to see Norwegian is up at $25. I first told you guys about the stock and when it would be a good buy at $10.01, so you would have more than doubled your money on Norwegian. So that's just on that stock. Now we do have Kohl's that we were talking about before as well. So Kohl's, when I first brought it up, was also on April 6th during one of the live streams. We decided to I'm trying to exactly remember. I think the price was $14.15. So I first, it was during the same episode that we talked about Norwegian. I mentioned that it was $14.15 on April 6th. Now the price, as you can see, is $28.07. Again, this was, as you can see, under the price for today. It was around 1:30 when I took this screenshot, so it could be a little bit higher or lower than $28. I haven't got a chance to go back and look at it, but still, this is another one where basically you've doubled your money up if you had picked or if you had went with Norwegian. So that was a good stock pick, I think, for, when I first broke the news on getting Kohl's, it was at $14.15. Now it's up at $28. And another interesting thing about Kohl's is I had a friend who recently went to Kohl's over the weekend, and she said that she had to put her things back because the line was so long and wrapped out around the building throughout the store that she was not like, I'm not waiting in the line for over an hour just to check out. So I thought that was interesting. It seems like Kohl's is starting to kind of bounce back, get some energy going. Also, as I've talked about before, Amazon has always been, someone mentioned that there was a potential for Amazon to purchase Kohl's, make an acquisition, which now seems more likely more than ever because there's stories now of Amazon opening up brick and mortar locations. I believe they have one set to open in Raleigh, which is it's called 4-Star. I guess it's one of Amazon's retail stores that they're looking to open. So as that begins to kind of grow and expand, a Kohl's acquisition may not be out of the question. I'm not saying for certain that it will happen, but I wouldn't be surprised to see if Kohl's comes out of the or if Amazon comes out of the woodwork and buys Kohl's out. That would be an interesting thing. And then you can say you heard it first here on the K2 podcast. But we're going to move on to the next one that we picked, that we were talking about, which was Delta Airlines. So Delta Airlines, when we first mentioned it, also on April 6th during that first live stream for the stock picks, it was $22.32 when I mentioned it, and it's up to $36.20. So that's a pretty good jump. There's definitely a decent little gain there. You can see on the chart, you're starting to see an upward trend with Delta as well. Also, flights are beginning to pick back up. It seems people are starting to fly again. The Washington Post actually made an article about, people are flying again, and kind of talked about some of the things they're noticing with people traveling and stuff like that. That article is in the description, so you could check that out for yourself if you'd like. And then also the last one that we talked about, which was Carrier. Now, Carrier's been awesome stock because when I first mentioned it, it was $15.44 on April the 6th during that live stream. It's now up to $24.18, so definitely a good gain. You can see the big jump there on the chart. Again, it could be a little bit better than that right now because I took this screenshot today at 1:30. The market doesn't close till 4:30, so you got a little wiggle room there for it to go up or down. But good news is that it did in fact go up. So to kind of make a note of a couple things. When I first what I did, actually, I'll show you what I actually have here. Let's go back to my main screen here, and I'll show you when I first purchased these stocks. This is the picture you're seeing on the screen there is from my actual portfolio, which is kind of cool because I made a separate portfolio. Of course, I have one that's a little bit more personal with some other stocks, but this one I made specifically for the show, just so we can kind of track these stocks that we picked. Now, if you look, I bought 2 Norwegian, that's the NCLH ticker symbol. I bought 2 of those at $11.20. Okay, that's when I personally got into the position, was at $11.20. So those 2 stocks cost me $22.40. Now, if you go down to Kohl's, KSS ticker symbol, I bought 2 of those at $17.99. That's when I got into the position. It cost me $35.98. Then you have DAL, which is Delta Airlines. Bought 1 of those for $22.83. And then also you have Carrier, which I bought 1 of those at $13.95, and that's when I got into the position. So you can see all of that on my TD Ameritrade. I took a screenshot from my phone there. So if you total all of that up, I spent $95.16. Because if you remember in that episode, what we talked about was making the goal to be how you can invest with only $100, taking $100 and investing it. So we were able to pick all of those stocks. It was a total of 4 stocks total for $95.16. Now, if you look at the other image that I have here, which is the let's see here, the value of those stocks now, if you look, the 2 Norwegian stocks, the NCLH, the value is $50.14. The coal stocks is $56.07. The Delta Airlines is $36, and then Carrier at $24.14. So that equals a total value of $166 for this particular portfolio that I set up. So we turned that $95 into $166 within the matter of a little over a month, So I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was something that was interesting to share because, you can't say I didn't tell you so to go ahead and get those. Now, again, I do want to, kind of be clear that I like I said, when you do invest, you always have to make your own decisions. I'm no financial expert, but it does make me happy to see that, I was able to share some picks with you guys that made some great progress and was actually doing pretty well. So I thought that was pretty cool. Also, lastly, don't forget, there was another stock that we had talked about, or actually it wasn't a stock, it was an ETF, which was Gush. Let's see, I can bring that back up for you. So here's Gush here. Here's the chart for that. When I first mentioned it, this one was more recently on May 11th. So we're not even into a full month yet. But I first told you guys about Gush when the stock was at $37, or the ETF was at $37.49. That was on May 11th, which you can see in the shot there. But now Gush is up to $64.42. So that's a huge jump there. It's almost doubled since we spoke about it. As people are getting out to travel, people are going to the beach, people are starting to make plans, you're seeing the need and the rise in oil prices, which is contributing to the Gush ETF starting to move up. So I thought that was a really good one to mention and bring up and kind of update you guys on how it's been going, what the actual market's been doing, the ones that we picked, how they progressed. So it's kind of interesting to see. It's been definitely getting better. Moving on, though, I want to kind of get into our next story. Our next story is a little bit, would you say, how could I say it? A little bit of a controversy because it involves the bricks that people have been seeing at the protest. Now, unless you lived under a rock somewhere, you probably heard about the random stockpiles of bricks that are popping up in cities where protests and looters are much more prominent. It seems like everybody's been talking about it in some way or fashion, or sharing the videos of people stumbling across these stockpiles of bricks and things like that. So no one's really talking about it, though, like as far as the mainstream media goes, or when they do talk about it, they kind of just write it off as some sort of like conspiracy theory, or they say, oh, well, we don't know where they're coming from and stuff like that. So I kind of wanted to compile a list and kind of generate some theories about where the bricks have came from, or where they, like, just try to find an explanation for it. Because the logical thought would be that, well, there's construction in the area. Maybe people are saying there's no construction in the area, because if you watch some of the videos, you'll see they'll post a video like, oh, look at this pile of bricks, but there's no construction in the area. So where are they coming from? But maybe they're just not, not showing the whole scene, and there is in fact construction there. So that was what could be kind of speculated, but I feel like that's the easy route. And that's kind of what the media's been saying, like, oh, maybe they're, or actually they really haven't given much explanation at all, quite frankly. But when what I feel like should be happening is, I feel like the media should be saying, like, I feel like the media should be saying that, well, these bricks, there is actual construction sites in the area, but these videos aren't showing it. But they're not saying that. So it kind of, because I feel like the media would easily debunk these so-called conspiracy theories about the bricks and say, yeah, there's construction in the area, so that's why you're seeing it. These videos are fake. But no one's actually said that. No one knows where they're coming from. Which is kind of interesting. It kind of leads me to believe that there's more to what, than what meets the eye. You even have police departments weighing in on this situation, acknowledging the random stockpiles of bricks and other ammunition, I guess, if you want to use that word. I don't know if ammunition is the right word, but you have Kansas City Police Department, though. They made a statement and said the rocks and bricks are intended for use during the riots. The Kansas City Police Department said in a tweet, following several days of violent protests and concern that the violence would continue, the department called on residents to contact police if they discovered any additional stockpiles of potentially harmful items. If you see anything like this, you can text 911 and let us know so we can remove them. That's what the Kansas City Police said on Twitter. This keeps everyone safe and allows your voice to continue to be heard, to end their tweet there. So you have the Kansas City Police Department acknowledging that, they've come across it as well, and if you see it, please report it. So this is not something that is completely a falsehood or just completely made up. You have the Kansas City Police Department, acknowledging that they have come across these stockpiles. Then you also have Baltimore police, who also weighed in, making a statement in a tweet. Baltimore police said the Baltimore PD is committed to protecting the rights and facilitating peaceful protests to ensure that the safety of everyone. Small stashes of potential weapons have been located. If you see something, say something. Call 911 if you see anything that could be used to incite violence. So you also have the Baltimore Police Department acknowledging, and there's a couple others out there that are acknowledging that these bricks are popping up. So it's not just some random conspiracy theory, but I've also compiled a list of places where they could be coming from. Now, you keep in mind, this stuff that I'm going to share with you guys on the bricks and where they're coming from is actually speculation. There's no merit to it. I don't have any proof about it. I can't say exactly where they're coming from with certainty, but I do have a lot of information about them, or stuff that can kind of start drawing some conclusions about where they're coming from. But matter of fact, I have a clip here. We can take a look at the clip. Let's watch this clip. We'll just take a look at some of the stockpiles people been finding.
This the setup.
They put them there on purpose,
Y'all know where we at.
They gonna set them on right up on the route.
Y'all know what building this is right here.
Now.
I ain't even gonna say what name it is.
Hey, where do them bricks go to? Where do them
This
bricks
is
go
setup.
to? Where do them bricks
We gotta
go to?
do better.
Ain't no damn construction.
Gotta do better.
Ain't no damn construction around here.
I see.
Ain't no damn construction around here. You just gonna set a pallet of bricks right there. Oh, okay.
Listen, I did jury duty 3 months ago. Y'all don't keep no bricks right there. Do better.
Bruh, they got them bricks, bruh. They are protesting. Shit crazy. Some random ass bricks, bruh. Ain't no construction. Ain't no construction, bruh. Just some random ass bricks sitting here.
So they say, we got bricks. So that's some of the videos on the actual bricks. There's a lot more to where that came from, but I want to share with some of the theories about where they're coming from. Now, again, all of this is speculation. I can't say with certainty that any of this can be proven or backed up or there's any evidence to this, but some people believe that this actually started with former President Barack Obama when he used the words concrete action. So during a piece that he published on a website called Medium, which is an online publishing platform. If you're not familiar with Medium, you can go to medium.com and check them out. But it's an online publishing platform, and some people are saying that he used the words concrete action in this publication that he made, and they were saying that, well, this is some kind of code that he's using to tell people to, put these stockpiles out there. And, of course, it's kind of a wild and crazy conspiracy theory, but many backed up this conspiracy claim by saying that President Obama also tweeted, and I'll quote, this was his tweet, that he had pulled together some resources to help young activists sustain the momentum by channeling their energy into concrete action. And it seems like everyone on the internet knew what he was referring to when he made these claims, because everybody jumped on it and was like, oh, I bet you he's talking about the bricks, and he's saying I pulled some resources together. And it's kind of weird this stuff is popping up throughout some of these cities. Now, of course, like I said, it's a crazy claim, but it is one that people have brought up, one I've kind of seen floating around on the internet. But also some people are, you have people like Warren Buffett, who's a huge investor, who recently made a tweet who said bricks could have been my best investment ever. And some people are saying this was he didn't tweet it. He did it during an advertisement. During an advertisement, he was bragging, saying, yeah, bricks could have been my best investment ever. And that's kind of weird, because it's like, why would you say that, bro? Like, when all that stuff is going on. So, that was just another speculation on the whole thing. There's no real evidence to back up these claims other than the words that were used. So you'll have to kind of decide on your own. But I do want to say the United States officials, United States officials have confirmed that they are investigating the possibility of the protests being infiltrated by extremist groups encouraging the chaos. You also have the NYPD Deputy Commissioner of Intelligence and Counterterrorism. His name's John Miller. He weighed in saying that he has a high degree of confidence that the anarchist groups plan the violent interactions and vandalism, but ultimately I'm going to leave it up for you guys to decide for yourself. But there are some other theories. Some quick ones to note was some people said that they were placed there by police, so that way when a protester used the brick, that they could go in, engage the people, and attack them. I find that one to probably be one of the least likely, but it's still a theory, still something I wanted to note. Some people also said it could have been the business owners that were nearby. Some people were saying, yeah, some of the business owners putting it down there, hoping that they'll use the bricks to bash up their business so they can collect the insurance money. And I don't ever want to think about anybody doing that, but you see kind of cases all the time about people saying that, where they set their business on fire to collect the insurance money. So you never know, that could be another place that they came from. No one's really saying for sure exactly where those bricks are coming from. But as far as the business owners go, you got to realize it has been several months. A lot of these businesses have been closed down due to the coronavirus. Some of them probably are in a little bit of debt. So, you could make a case there that, hey, look, their business is down on hard times. They want to get out from underneath their business. So they're setting the bricks out there. You've also got people saying it could be something as simple as street art or visual performance art is the term that they were using. So there's so many different theories about where the bricks are coming from, but I just kind of wanted to shed some light on the ones that you maybe not have heard of, or ones that weren't so obvious or aren't being talked about. Again, if you have some other theories or other stuff you heard, you can comment those down below if you like, and kind of share, because I'd like to hear some of the other theories and kind of determine where they're coming from. But again, none of this is proven, none of this is factual. I just thought it was interesting and kind of wanted to bring it up to everybody. And it kind of bothers me that people are using these bricks and stuff, because to me a brick symbolizes, like, the building blocks of civilization, family. When you think of family, you think of building blocks, hard work, dedication. That's what I think about when I think bricks. And these are the same items that are being used as now a symbol of hate and fear, to be used as missiles for our misguided youth. So I don't know. It's just something to kind of think on. But moving on with the riots, we've also heard quite a bit of death in these riots. Now, not all of it is covered. Sometimes they don't even speak about it, especially if it's a person of color. They kind of just go silent on the whole issue. But recently, there was the death of retired police captain David Dorn. The video of his death it's a pretty rough video. I've seen the clip. We're not going to watch it on today's show. I just don't want to play it, and plus it's real kind of funny with YouTube's guidelines. I don't want to get hit for that, so I don't want the video taken down. So we're not going to play it on this show, but if you are interested in seeing that clip, you can go to the K2 Podcast Facebook page. I have that Facebook page linked down below in the description. So if you want to go to the Facebook page, it is there for you to view. All you have to do is just go to the page. While you're there, please hit the like button so you can stay up to date on that information. But David Dorn, he was a retired police captain who was killed during the looting that was going on, and it's kind of sad because really he was protecting a pawn shop and they killed this man over a TV. That was just really, I couldn't wrap my head around that. It was sad to see him go. But like I said, if you want to see the video, I'm not going to play it on tonight's show, but I did want to bring up this particular instance because for a couple reasons. One being that the mainstream media has been mostly silent on the whole issue. Like I said, when a person of color is killed during these riots, they don't really want to bring it up because it kind of goes against the narrative. But, I've seen a little bit of coverage about it, which is not... I'm surprised by that, and I'm happy to hear that. But like I said, I wanted to kind of also bring this up because I don't want to come on here and push the standard narrative that, if Black Lives really matter, well, what about this guy? That's what everybody says. Everybody will, like, if you find somebody who is a person of color or black that got injured in the looting or the protests or maybe even killed, everybody says, oh, Black Lives matter. Well, what about this guy? It didn't matter when he lost his life. And that, that's a valid statement. I'm not taking away from that, but I'm not going to use that as the reason why I'm bringing up this video. I feel like that's the easy route. That's kind of the obvious, that's the obvious answer. But I wanted to bring it to attention because I feel, based upon what I've heard about this former officer, David Dorn, he was an outstanding citizen, a great father. He was a grandfather, a protector of his community, and he ultimately lost his life serving his community and trying to protect it. And he deserves a lot of respect, and I wanted to kind of shed some light on him because he was a good guy from what I've gathered from the stuff that I've read. And I wanted to play a video that a former officer, his name is Brandon Tatum. I'm not sure, you guys may have been seeing some of his videos, but I kind of wanted to play a little bit of what his take on it was, and then we'll go from there and talk a little bit more.
When the brother kill a brother, you don't care. When the police officer, former police officer, 77-year-old man, retired captain on the police department, done spent 38 years of his life protecting and serving, show up to a call for service, because when you a cop and when you serve people that long, it ain't just a job, it's in your spirit. Show up to protect the pawn shop, being a good Samaritan, a good citizen, a good man, a good father, a good grandfather, a good leader in the community, and you show up because you want a TV, and you take that man's life and y'all video record him losing his life. Nobody renders aid, and the man who did this probably ain't never gonna get caught because y'all won't even snitch. What have you accomplished?
So that was kind of an interesting take on it. He's just basically, you can watch his whole video. I have that linked down below as well. You can watch the whole video of Brandon Tatum kind of talking about his ideas and what he thinks about some of the stuff that's going on. Here's a picture, as you can see over my shoulder, of David Dorn. And then you heard at the end of the video there that he was saying that, nobody's going to snitch, so they'll probably never find out who actually did it. But it actually appears that they did they did actually press charges, or charges have been brought against a gentleman whose name is Stephen Cannon. I think I have a picture of Cannon just to bring it up here. There he is. So Stephen Cannon was being held, right now he's being held without bond on first-degree murder charge in the death of David Dorn, who is 77, who was killed on Tuesday on the sidewalk outside Lee's Pawn and Jewelry. Dorn's last moments were caught on video and apparently posted on Facebook, which you can watch that video if you want on my K2 podcast page on Facebook. But I really like Brandon Tatum's video on the situation, because he kind of talks about it. If you want to see more of what he had to say, you can definitely check out his video on it. But I do want to kind of keep moving on, because the next thing that I kind of wanted to talk about is virtue signaling. I've seen a lot of white people doing this. I mean, a lot of white people. And it's kind of embarrassing in many ways, but I've spoke a little bit about this on my personal Facebook page, and I'm just seeing a lot of social media posts that people are just virtue signaling. They're saying I'm sure you've seen it. If you log into your social media, go to your Facebook, you're going to see these people that basically, to me, it just seems like they want attention, and they're trying to make it about themselves, or show you, how racist how I'm not so racist. Look at my post. I'm not racist, guys. But if really, in reality, if you surround yourself with certain people, they know you, people that you interact with, how you treat other people should speak for itself. You don't have to do this elaborate Facebook post to say, I'm not a racist. Look at me. And some people are going so far as to get their kids involved, which is really disheartening to me. It's really kind of bad. I've seen one photo of a lady who actually used a photo of her child to say that her child was privileged. I should have got that photo for you guys, but I didn't bring it up. I apologize for that. But moving forward, these posts, to me, it kind of comes off like you're already saying that you're somehow more superior to black folks by saying, I am white privileged and I recognize my privilege, and you're kind of it's so weird. It's just like the weirdest thing that I would say. And God forbid, if you respond to any of these posts in the comments section, all of a sudden you become a racist somehow, and you're shamed for a disagreement. And I'm not trying to make a cover for, comments that are actually, people who are making comments of hate or actual racism, but anyone who dares to have a different stance, maybe one like the one we just heard from Brandon, who was a retired or former police officer. If you take any kind of stance like that, somehow you're now a racist, and you should be on your knees apologizing. I mean, I've seen some people using photos of their children who have absolutely nothing to do with this situation to be used as pawns, and it's it's disgusting to me. I mean, in matter of fact, let's take a look at Brandon's video on the whole thing. He has a great take on it.
Let me get to you white people. White people, I need you to hear me real clearly. You better stop with all of that BS virtue signaling. You saying you have white privilege don't somehow make me feel any better about how racist you are. The fact that you believe in white privilege shows me that you are cognitively dissonant from reality. You are telling black people, when you say you have white privilege, or acknowledging your white privilege, or that you have it better in life, that you're better than black people, that you're going to go further in life than black people, and that black people need you to somehow acknowledge and give them a handout so they can have a decent life. You're not operating with common sense. And all this virtue signaling is not doing nothing but perpetuating, inflaming, and fanning the fire. Y'all fanning the fire. Y'all getting on y'all knees on the sidewalk to confess your white privilege. And if none of y'all was racist, and none of y'all owned slaves, and none of y'all was alive during Jim Crow, then what are you doing? What are you actually accomplishing?
So there you have it from him. That's his take on the matter, and I tend to agree with what he's saying. I mean, it's it's kind of like you're bragging about your white privilege, in my opinion. So it's just it really needs to stop. I just don't see how people can continue going on doing this. It doesn't really help the situation. Like he said there, what does it really accomplish? You have these people who will say, well, I'm sorry for what has happened, and I'm sorry, but keep in mind, this is something that many people don't have no control over. I go through life, and I interact with people who know me would know if I'm a racist or not. I don't need to make some elaborate Facebook post to try to look for clout or attention. And everybody always wants you to say, "Oh, I'm sorry," or if you're not saying sorry, you're somehow on the wrong end of the spectrum. But there's a difference between saying like you're sorry and trying to find effective ways to be involved instead of a Facebook quote or meme. You're posting, like I said, looking for clout and attention, and that's just not cool. Nobody likes someone who's just sorry all the time. It's looked down upon. I got a quick story I'll share with you guys. At one point I worked at a call center, and one of the things that we had to say whenever a customer had brought up an issue, they would always say, you would have to say, well, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. And I would continuously say, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. Eventually, it kind of weighs down on you as a person. You start to feel sorry. Like a lot of people believe what you speak into existence kind of determines your life around you and things like that. So you hear that a lot where people are saying, where you hear that a lot, where people are saying that what you say is you speaking into existence. So I noticed that I was constantly saying sorry all the time, and I started to become depressed and feel sorry, and it definitely takes a large toll on your whole mental health overall. So I'm not saying that there aren't times when an apology could be due for certain things, but you have to don't constantly focus on the sorry portion. If you really want to help, get involved, find effective ways to help. That's just my stance on it. That's kind of what my take is on the whole thing. Another quick story that I wanted to kind of talk about is the coronavirus. This story is kind of wild because, we've kind of been talking a lot in the past about the coronavirus. I kind of supported some of the protest against it and things like that. And then there was people like Dr. Fauci who said, this needs to stop. Or you have all these doctors and medical professionals coming out saying these protests should not be going on. I can't believe you guys are out there protesting. So this is kind of a wild thing. And, right now, while there's protests going on, we have no idea where Dr. Fauci is. Where is everyone? In fact, I was saying that not following social distancing guidelines or wearing a mask, you were putting people's lives in danger or at risk. Well, I did a little bit of investigating on it, and let's just say I found that over 1,000 of them, 1,000 medical professionals, have put out an open letter saying that they're in support of the current protests that are happening, but they weren't in support of the previous protests where people were saying that they didn't like the excessive quarantine, they didn't want to be locked down, so a violation of their rights. But now, because of what's going on today, they're saying, no, it's okay. So I actually will bring up, I have, I don't know if you guys can read that or not, but I'll try to read it to you just in case you can't. We won't go over the whole thing, but basically you have over 1,200 health professionals sign a letter saying don't shut the protests down during the coronavirus or use that as an excuse to shut down these protests that are that are going on. So here's the letter. I'll just read it off real quick. Open letter advocating for anti-racist public health response to demonstrations against systematic injustice occurring during the COVID-19 pandemic. On April 30th, heavily armed and predominantly white protesters entered the state capitol building in Lansing, Michigan, protesting stay-at-home orders. So they're taught, that's what we were talking about a little bit before. But it says they were protesting stay-at-home orders and called for widespread public masking to prevent the spread of COVID-19 infectious disease. Physicians and public health officials publicly condemned those actions and privately mourned the widening rift between leaders in science and a subset of the communities that they serve. As of May 30th, we are witnessing continuing demonstrations and response to ongoing, pervasive, and lives taken by police. So I'll skip the rest. I have this whole letter in the description below so you can check it out, but I do want to read the next part because this is what's shocking to me. White supremacy is a lethal public health issue that predates and contributes to COVID-19. Black people are twice as likely to be killed by police compared to white people, but the effects of racism are far more pervasive. Black people suffer from dramatic health disparities in life expectancy, maternal and infant mortality, chronic medical conditions, and outcomes from acute illnesses like myocardial infarction and sepsis. Biological determinants are insufficient to explain these disparities. They are a result from long-standing systems of oppression and bias which have subjected people of color to discrimination in healthcare setting. Decreased access to medical care and healthy food, unsafe working conditions, and then they got this whole list going on. Well, you read the next little section here. It says staying at home, social distancing, and public masking are effective at minimizing the spread of COVID-19 to the extent possible. So here it goes. Here's where they kind of go again. So we support the application of these public health best practices during demonstrations that call attention to the pervasive lethal force of white supremacy. However, as public health advocates, we do not condemn those gatherings as risky for COVID-19 transmission. So they're saying that these protests do not seem risky for COVID-19 transmission. Now, when everybody was protesting before against the excessive quarantine and saying that a lot of their rights were being violated, that was risk. But what's going on now is not a risk. This is something that it's okay. They're saying it says we support them as vital to the national public health and to the threatened health specifically of black people in the United States. We can show that support by facilitating safest protesting practices without detracting from demonstrators' ability to gather and demand change. This should not be confused with a permissive stance on all of gatherings, particularly protests against stay-at-home orders. So that is just the weirdest thing. So they're saying, I just don't even understand that sentence. I don't know if you guys caught on to what they're saying right there, but what they're saying is this should not be confused with permissive stance on all gatherings, particularly protests against stay-at-home orders. Those actions not only oppose public health interventions, but are also rooted in white nationalism and run contrary to respect for black lives. Protests against systematic racism, which fosters the disproportionate burden of COVID-19 on black communities and also perpetuates police violence, must be supported. So they're saying, look, if you're protesting stay-at-home orders, that's not okay. But if you're going out to protest, the Black Lives Matter movement, that is okay. Now, I'm not against either one of those protests, but how are these people, I'm for protesting, it's part of your amendment. If you want to peacefully gather and protest and exercise your rights, I'm totally on board with that. But what I'm not on board is this wish-washy flip-flop saying, oh, you guys can do it, but you guys can't do it. That just seems bizarre to me. It makes no sense. So they go on and they have a few things here that you can read this whole list. I would advise that you read it, but they also list everybody who signed it. It's 15-page document, and only 3 pages, or actually 2 pages, is the actual letter. The rest of the pages is all people who have signed this document. So I would definitely take a look at it. You have people from University of Toronto, you have people from Harvard, you have people from real good nursing schools, Bloomberg School of Public Health. I mean, you can just go through the whole damn list. I mean, University of Washington, you can see all the names here, all these people, and some of them are highly respected in their field, and they signed this bizarro letter that makes absolutely no sense to me. So it just trips me out. I can't understand that. It's just it's so bizarre and weird that they would come out with this letter. But, you know, we're going to get ready to wrap up tonight's show. Last story is kind of a little bit about some positive news. I like to end on a positive note. There is still hope with all of this madness going on with some of the stuff that we just discussed. There is hope, and there is still plenty of people who care about the country and want to spread positivity. We recently seen this in Minneapolis. There's a middle school who decided to hold a food drive for the burned and looted up community. But what makes this story so great is they were actually expecting a small turnout. They held this food drive. They weren't expecting many people to show up or contribute. But what they actually got was a huge, overwhelming response of donations. If you can see that photo there, I kind of tried to make it big for everybody so you can kind of see. All of that is a lot of the donations. But it says donations covered every inch of the ground of our parking lot. This was a statement that the principal made to CNN, but she said donations covered every inch of our ground of our parking lot, the grass everywhere. That was again Sanford Middle School. And Principal Amy Nelson is given this quote. She said, "We had to also use a neighboring park because we didn't have enough space here at the school to stack up all the donations." So I thought that was a great story, great way for the middle school to contribute, give back to their community, and it kind of gives me a good sense of hope that there is still people out there that care, want people to do well. So that's real. That was real heartfelt. So good job to them. If you want to hear more about that story, I got that in the link in the description down below, so you can definitely check that out. Now that's pretty much everything for tonight's show. I do want to make a couple of announcements. Like I said, we are next week I will be giving out a $25 gift card to Amazon. There's no purchases. There will be a couple of things that you have to do, maybe like the video or something like that. But I will release more info on that before Wednesday. Wednesday at the latest, I will post a video telling you how you can enter to win the gift card. Also, I wanted to share with you guys the stream will no longer, right now you can catch the stream on iTunes, Spotify, Anchor FM, YouTube, and my personal Facebook page. And there's a couple of other smaller platforms that it streams to as well. But what we're actually going to do is I'm going to be moving from my personal Facebook page to the K2 Podcast Facebook page. That's where you'll be able to catch the stream. I no longer want to do it from my personal page. This is just an attempt to kind of get people who really are interested in the show and want to tune in every week. They can follow along on that K2 podcast page in real time, kind of see the post throughout the week and kind of be involved, and we can talk and have discussions and things like that. So like I said, the K2 podcast page is where this stream will be at next week, along with all the other platforms I mentioned. You just won't be able to find it on my personal Facebook page like I have been doing. But nonetheless, I'm looking forward to kind of growing the show. It's been growing exponentially. Each week I'm gaining new listeners, especially on Anchor and iTunes. I've gotten a great response on there, and that's without any of the video stuff going on. So I found that to be pretty cool, because even without the video stuff, and it's just me talking, people are tuning in, listening to it on their way to work, stuff like that. So I appreciate you guys checking it out tonight. We're finishing up a little early. We usually try to be on for about an hour. Hopefully you got a little bit of good information on this stuff. I think that's going to be it. I don't think I have anything else. Just stay tuned for that gift card giveaway. I'll be mentioning that. Like I said, the first thing that you would probably want to do if you want to be involved is go to the K2 Podcast Facebook page, like the page, so that way you can get the post in your news feed. But I'll definitely put it out there for everyone to see so that they can get involved and have a chance to win the gift card. But I think that's going to be it for tonight's show. I appreciate everybody who tuned in. This is our 15th episode. I'm really happy and glad that we've made it this far. We're going to keep on going. I got some guests in the works that are coming up. I won't for a couple of the next 2 weeks or so. I don't have any guests lined up. I kind of wanted to get into just covering some more stories and things like that while I work on getting some really good, entertaining guests for you guys. So just look out for that. I appreciate you tuning in tonight. It was a real pleasure spending my evening with you all. I hope you enjoyed the show. Take care and enjoy the rest of your night. Have a great work week.